Zotac was kind enough to actually send us a copy of their new AMP Edition 1060, and what we wanted to do is obviously a comparison between how this new GPU stacks up against AMD's latest offering, the RX 480. So if you want to know which mid-range graphics card is the best overall value, let's go ahead and find out. Specifications, when we take a look at the RX 480 versus the GTX 1060, in terms of overall shader units, we do have about 1280 CUDA cores on the 1060 versus about 2304 stream processors on the AMD side. ROMs, we do have more ROMs on the 1060, 48 versus 32, and transistor count level is quite a lot higher on the RX 480. It has about 5.7 billion versus about 4.4 billion on the 1060 side. When it comes to overall video memory, the bandwidth is slightly larger on the RX 480. Also, we do have more memory available of 8 gigabytes versus about 6 gigabytes on the 1060. The memory bus is larger on the RX 480. It has a 256-bit bus versus the 1060 has a 192-bit bus. Both memory clocks run at 8,000 megahertz, and when it comes to the overall core clock speeds, the 1060 is really fast. In fact, the AMP edition from Zotac that we have over here runs at over 1700 megahertz on its boost frequency versus the RX 480 runs around 1266 megahertz on its factory settings. Now, the first thing I wanted to take a look at is the overall power consumption, and with the new drivers on the AMD side, the efficiency levels have definitely gone up from the initial launch of the RX 480s, and at full gaming load, the card draws about 164 watts on average based on my specific scenario, versus in the exact same settings and situation, the 1060 draws about 136 watts. So give or take 25 to 30 watts, there is a difference between the two cards. So in most cases, it's not going to make a big real world difference, but critically speaking, the 1060 is certainly more efficient. Now, when it comes to overall temperatures, the cooler on the RX 480, the stock reference design is not very good. That blower design is pretty darn old fashioned, and at gaming load, it goes all the way up to the high 80s degrees Celsius versus thanks to the dual 90 millimeter fans that we have on the Zotac AMP edition, as well as an excellent overall heat sink that does a great job of dissipating the heat at full gaming load. The GTX 1060 certainly stays a lot cooler at around 70 degrees C at full gaming load. Furthermore, when it comes to the overall noise levels, since we can run the fans at a lower RPM on the 1060 side, it is certainly a little bit more quiet. Roughly peaks around 35 decibels at gaming load versus 37 decibels on the RX 480 side. Now, let's actually take a look at some gaming benchmark results. First, taking a look at two synthetic benchmarks. The 3D Mark Firestrike at 1080p, we get about 11,201 points on our GTX 1060 versus about 10,274 on our RX 480 side. And on the new Time Spy 3D Mark benchmark, you can see also similar results, 4141 on our 1060 versus the RX 480 gets about 4,078 points. So slightly faster overall results from these synthetic benchmarks on the NVIDIA side compared to what we have on the RX 480s. But with that done, let's actually take a look at some real world games and see which one comes out on top. Now, in summary, in pretty much every example and every game that I play, it's pretty much clear that the GTX 1060 is definitely the faster overall gaming solution from a single graphics card standpoint. And in most scenarios, even with driver updates, you're going to have a hard time kind of beating it with the RX 480s. And based on my experience, I've found that the performance difference was as little as 5% to as great as 25%, depending upon certain gaming titles and detail settings and resolution. But at the end of the day, the price will always fluctuate depending upon where you are in the world and which versions of these GPUs you're getting. Typically, the MSRP for the 4GB version of the RX 480 retails for around $200, and if you want the 8GB version like we have, they typically go for anywhere between $230 to $250. And at launch, the GTX 1060 starts around $249 and can go all the way up to the $300 mark. And of course, with different sales and as we progress throughout the months, the pricing will always get more and more competitive. So hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, give us a thumbs up. That really helps us out tremendously. Thanks again to Zotac for providing a GTX 1060. Without them, this video wouldn't be possible. And we also have a dedicated review for the AMP edition of the 1060. Check out the link in the description or just click on the card that comes up to watch that full review. But really, other than that, guys, thanks again for watching and take care.